Well, hello, free people of the Rocky Mountain region. My name is Brandon, and welcome to this Free State Colorado interview. The mission of Free State Colorado is to promote a culture of liberty, freedom of the individual, and a free market. Today, I'm joined by Ben Faber. Ben is one of the individuals working on the recall against Broomfield Ward 5 City Council members Todd Cohen and Heidi Henkel. Well, Ben, I hope you are well, and thank you for joining me today.
Brandon, thanks for having me on your program here. I appreciate it.
Well, Ben, let's start off with the big question. Why are you trying to recall Todd Cohen and Heidi Henkel?
In short, they really are not serving their constituents well, and by that I mean if they don't agree with you or you don't agree with them, they seem to not listen. And I can cite specifics. I can right off of the Facebook page, which you may have seen. Uh, I will quote Heidi during the January 10th uh, firearms restrictions discussion, I'll call it. I'm sorry, but I don't recognize any one of you in this audience who are refusing your training. I have no words for you, none. Now, regardless of whether, what side of the issue, where you fall on the issue, that's no way to talk to your constituents and fellow council members. That's just a great example, I think, right there. And Todd's pretty much in lockstep step with Heidi. Uh, Heidi has more of a social media presence, so it's definitely easier to find things from her. But all the Broomfield City Council meetings are recorded, and you can go find some select quotes from Todd that show that he's in that same genre as Heidi of we know what's best for you, and we're your parents, and that's really why we're getting rid of them, or we're trying to get rid of them.
So it sounds like they're pretty disrespectful to their constituents, to their voters, to the citizens of their community they're supposed to represent, and you said as fellow city council members as well.
Yeah, and the I think we have that that little I'll call it a statement by Heidi prompted a couple letters to the Broomfield Enterprise. Uh, a lot of people in the audience just kind of got the big disgust going over their faces when that happened. I just don't appreciate it. And it's not just the gun thing where they do that or act like that. That, and this is more my opinion. I'm kind of a small L libertarian guy. Uh, they are controlling every aspect of what happens in the city. And one example of that is just minor. Some people don't have a problem with this, but I do in principle, where all new builds are being required to have uh, infrastructure for electric vehicles in them. And it depends on what type of build it is, if it's a business or multifamily residential or single family residential, but all of them require something. And I just think that, that's something between the builder and the property owner who's having the building on constructed on their property. So but it goes from there all the way to the gun stuff, where she wanted they it's not just her, um, but they are the Ward 5 people, 10 days training of their approval, that meet their standards. I mean, 10 days waiting, and then it's a training program that they deem to be adequate. And a lot of, I believe the CCW requirements weren't even meeting their needs. So, and
Wow.
all these ordinances are on the website. People can look them up and go see for themselves. So I
Yeah,
think
that's
I go ahead.
oh, I was gonna say it's pretty yeah, it is pretty egregious about the electric vehicle requirements there. I mean, talk about increasing the cost of building building
Yeah.
something, especially if you have a multifamily unit. Now all of a sudden there's these additional costs that are going to increase it by
Mhm.
thousands or more, and those builders are going to have or property owners are going to have to pass on those
Yeah,
extra costs to either tenants or to whoever they're selling this
yeah.
property to.
So yes, that is the principle and the economics of it. Like the principle being this not even a matter of safety or anything. It's a matter of we're telling you you have to have this in your building whether you want it or not. It, anyway, so it's anywhere from that to the gun stuff and everything in between. So
I saw on the website too, recalltoddandheidi.org. One of the top lines there is they supported the creation of a homeless camp in open space about 2,000 feet from a high school. And that sounds like a
mm,
pretty dangerous situation for high school students in Broomfield.
yeah, so we're starting to see more homeless around the area, camped out here and there, and or just on the corners and stuff. I am not the expert on that, but we have hopefully it's up on the website now, but we have where somebody found the language, found what they were proposing, and they have the proposed sites mapped on their locations, the open spaces in Broomfield. So um, there already were Broomfield programs in place. There are other metro area programs in place, Denver, Boulder, everywhere in between. So they were supporting giving vouchers to the homeless, for local hotels and all kinds of stuff. And this is my tax money.
Right. Life is so expensive already. People on fixed incomes, people just struggling to get by in our communities, and politicians like these council members just want to take from us people working hard just to get by and give it to people they think deserve it, as opposed to the people who earn the money.
Exactly. And I believe Broomfield's in debt already. I think to the tune of 480 million. I can send you the website for that, and you can post it later. Back to the gun stuff. If we're probably going to get sued, especially if they pass more stuff. They're talking about doing another round, I believe, this summer or the spring of hearings on ordinances. So we'll probably get sued like Erie and all those other Boulder County municipalities. And I believe the deductible and even if our insurance covers getting sued is still like $250,000, and all this nickel and dime stuff adds up. So, but
Wow.
they don't care.
Right, right. They have an agenda to push through. I mean, if you ask me, the anti-gun restrictions that the Broomfield City Council's push is more than enough reason to recall these people. I mean, they're definitely trying
Yeah,
to violate our right to self-defense and make it a lot harder and more difficult for law-abiding citizens to defend themselves and their families.
exactly. And if they're peaceful people who don't abide by the law, then they're um, basically to have fear of retribution by the getting arrested. Basically, if somebody decides not to go along with these laws. That's the extreme libertarian in me. Like, just because something's illegal doesn't make it right or wrong. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, you're in good company with me there.
Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about the recall. So for those
Yeah.
who are unaware of how a recall works, please explain the process of a recall.
Okay, so we have to get enough signatures of people in Ward 5 only, um, within 60 days, but there's a caveat on that because Heidi's running for reelection. I'll get to that later this year. But anyway, we have to get I think about 1,300 signatures somewhere in there, and then if we have enough valid signatures, then there will be about a ballot initiative to should they be recalled is the question. And as far as I'm aware, I don't know of anybody who would run against. I guess it'd be Heidi first and then Todd. Um, but I'm sure we can come up with this Ward 5 can come up with somebody or some people. So pardon my fuzziness on that part. But anyway, so back to the Heidi part. she's up for reelection this year. So there's a 180-day rule or something. So we don't really have 60 days to, and that's 180 days before the election. We don't have 60 days to get signatures in for her. So we really need signatures. We're doing well, but we're not there yet. Um, we need to turn them in by Monday, notarized this Monday. Todd, we have longer. He's not up until 2025. So
Interesting. Okay. So you get 1,300 signatures, you get the right amount of signatures, they go to
yeah,
your city clerk, and
yep,
city clerk's going to check them, make sure they're valid, they're actual registered voters in Ward 5 of Broomfield. And if there's enough of those signatures, it'll initiate like a recall
recall it.
election
Yes,
where the citizens of Broomfield will have the opportunity to yank these
yeah,
authoritarians out of office and replace them with other candidates.
yeah. And what I want to, what I've learned, I mean, I kind of already knew this, is a lot of people don't pay attention to local politics, but what's gonna happen, they pass these ordinances, especially they pass the 10-day wait. Somebody's gonna walk into Jack's on 120th and be in for a rude awakening when they think they just got to go for a background check. So back to that is I've found like people are either apathetic about, oh, it's just a city council, or some learn like, I had no idea this was going on. I had no idea they were doing this. So it's been a little bit of an eye opener for me. I wasn't totally shocked. I was more a little disappointed, to say the least.
Oh,
You
I
have to
hear you.
pay
Yeah.
you have to pay attention to them because they're definitely paying attention to you, figuratively speaking. Yeah,
Oh, I hear you there.
yeah,
Yeah, it's what happens at our local level, the municipality
yeah,
and county level, and even the state level is so much more important than what happens federally
yeah,
or nationally or even
yeah,
internationally. But of course, that's where the news media focuses most of their time and attention on. And so the
yeah.
average citizen doesn't really know. The average citizen doesn't have a lot of ideas about what's happening in their own communities, unfortunately. So it's good that there are people like you and others getting out there and trying to make a difference and have your voice heard and stand up for your rights, stand up for your community against these out of control, out of touch authoritarian city
Yeah,
councils.
and that's what they are. And that's, that sounds harsh, but they really are authoritarians. Like I said, they have the, I'm going to say, the fatal conceit. They think they know what's best for everybody, and because they got elected, they think that's a green light to do what they want. And they're, whether, and
Right.
they'll use an excuse for health and safety, or we're fighting climate change, or whatever. It's it's really, it's really unfortunate. But the good thing is, people are, when we're going to door and talking to people, they are waking up. So that's, if nothing else, that's a victory right there. Just getting more people aware.
Definitely. Definitely. So Broomfield, a lot of people probably know where Broomfield is,
Mhm.
northwest Metro Denver, kind of, southwest, southeast of Boulder, northwest
Yeah,
of Denver, somewhere in that region. Probably, still considered part of the Denver metro area. But where Ward 5? And generally,
yeah.
where is Ward 5 in Broomfield?
Good question. And some people don't know that Broomfield actually, a small chunk of it hops over to the east side of I-25. So the southern boundary of Ward 5 is Midway, which turns into 128th at Zuni, but that's what that, now you're in Westminster. So um, Midway on the south, western boundary is Lowell, part of the eastern boundary is Zuni, but then it kind of curves up to the northeast a little bit. So it's basically the east and northeast uh, chunk of Broomfield.
Okay, I gotcha.
Hopefully that's a little descriptive.
Well, I'll post a map on
Yeah,
the website on freestatecolorado.com
thank you.
slash Broomfield. I'll have a map of Ward 5. So if you live in Broomfield, you can see, hey, is this in my area? Are these people supposedly trying to represent me? You know,
Okay, and just to show some more people that, or tell some more people that we're not being hyperbolic, I'd love to read a couple of Heidi quotes, or at least one Heidi quote. That's Heidi Henkel, one of the council members. Let me pull it up here. And this is from a screenshot off of her Facebook page from, here it is. I got to make it bigger so I can read it. There we go. It's from January 15th, 2019. And she's talking to somebody, another person on her Facebook, one of her friends. Anyway, here we go. Seriously, I think capitalism is the number one reason why we have so many issues in America. And Brandon, you and I know that all capitalism is, when you boil it down, is the voluntary exchange of goods and services between individuals. And the key word there is voluntary. So somehow I think she got onto city council thinking it's okay for her to forcibly interfere in those voluntary exchanges. Another thing I found last week, snooping around, because there's a gold mine of stuff out there on social media, is she is supporting Candi CdeBaca in Denver for her reelection bid. She's endorsed her, and I found that on Facebook, and I found it on Candi CdeBaca's webpage. And for those not in the know, Candi is also against those voluntary exchanges, and she's an admitted, or she identifies as communist. So again, I'm not being hyperbolic here. That's what these are the people that are in city councils. They're not friends
Well,
of your rights, and they're not friends of freedom, unless it's
right.
for
Yeah.
them.
Right. No, exactly. I mean, if Heidi Henkel thinks that capitalism is the problem in our society, that's what's going on, then clearly she's advocating for a centralized control over society. And of course, her being a politician and elected official, she probably thinks that she's somebody who can make these decisions for us. And, if only we followed her dictates, would the world be a better place? Very unfortunate and very sad. And unfortunately, like this CdeBaca down in Denver, she's endorsed by the Denver Democratic Socialists of America
Yes.
chapter. And it's crazy to think, he's talked about hyperbole, and a lot of people, are so used to extreme language in our media and on radio for so many years that a lot of people don't realize this is how serious things have gotten, where we actually have
Yeah.
elected socialists, self-identifying communists, people who disagree with the idea of private property ownership, people who disagree with the idea of private gun ownership in our governments, both at the city and state level.
Mhm.
Unbelievable for most people.
Yeah. And I don't want to neglect Todd here either. So I'll paraphrase one of the things he said at one of the gun hearings. It was the one before the January 10th one, but he got up and said, "Oh, we're the only proud country in the world with this, or developed country in the world with the mass shooting problems," which isn't really true. And then he said that, I'm going to quote his grammatical error here. He said, the good guy with a gun is a mythology, so saying myth, which it's not, but it's also irrelevant to whether or not you and I have a right to defend ourselves and defend ourselves with firearms and own firearms. So he's he's also not a fan of freedom, and
Wow.
he also voted. Actually, the whole city council voted for that requirement for the electric vehicle infrastructure. I'm just using these two easy examples. One's minor, one's major, depending on your viewpoint. But like I said, that just shows you. It just tells you about these people. Shows you what kind of people they are. It's sounding mean, but they're the ones with the monopoly on of local force. You know.
Well, shame on
Yeah.
Todd Cohen.
Yeah.
Shame on Todd Cohen for saying that good people with guns can't defend their communities. I mean, down here in Arvada, where I'm from, we had Johnny Hurley in Old
Yeah.
Town Arvada rushed out to confront a killer, a criminal who was trying to target police officers. Johnny
Mhm.
Hurley shot and killed that guy before he could continue his rampage.
Yeah,
That
and it
is a
was
good guy
unfortunate.
with a
Yeah,
gun.
unfortunate ending to that, but he was a good guy with a gun, and there are at least tens of thousands, if not more, examples of that every year. But it's still irrelevant to whether or not you and I have rights. If there were no
Exactly.
if there were no good guys with guns, you'd still have the right to defend yourself with a firearm and own a firearm. So that's my
100%. The
two,
right to
two,
keep and bear arms, the right to self-defense is a fundamental God-given right.
yeah.
Every person, regardless of anything else, has the right to defend themselves and defend their families and to protect their community. 100%.
Yeah.
So
It's
very shameful behavior from Todd Cohen and Heidi Henkel. I really hope you're successful in your efforts. These people are sound to me, in my
yeah,
opinion, they're a disgrace to the community for sure.
yeah.
So,
So
so Ben, how many people are working on this effort?
okay, so we have 5 committee members. I'm one of them, and I think our mutual friend or acquaintance Carl was the one who kind of wrote me into this. So I want to mention Carl on here and throw him under the bus, Carl Honegger. And but we have a lot of other volunteers, some from other wards, some some people who live outside the city. Even we have, of course, we don't have enough. I'm going to say that, but most of the people are in Ward 5, and they're just neighbors that are fed up with their behavior, the city council person's behavior. One thing I want to say before so I don't forget, is if you our audience goes to our Facebook page or our website, um, there's a button on the website to contact us if you want to sign the petition, and we'll come to your house or meet you somewhere and get your signature. I mean, so we'll make it easy
Oh, that's
to get
great.
this.
That's a
Yeah.
great idea.
Um, but
So,
mostly we've been walking people, just knocking on doors and contacting neighbors we know that are have the same attitude we do. Oh
right.
yeah.
So what has the response been from the community so far?
Actually, it's been pretty good. Like I said, the best part is that a lot of we're waking up a lot of people, and they didn't, they weren't paying attention to what's going on in Broomfield, and you know, it's going to be for those who don't, they're going to go, "What happened?" And it's you didn't pay attention to local politics. I don't want to sound preachy, but that's what happened. To go, I didn't know they were doing that. Well, that's why you got to be vigilant. So
Perfect,
yeah,
perfect. So 1,300 signatures are required by Monday for Heidi Henkel, a little bit longer for Todd Cohen.
yeah,
It sounds like you're kind of up against the clock here. I'll work to get this out as fast as possible.
yeah.
So
You
what
can
can Broomfield Ward 5 residents do to help?
I said they can donate. Biggest thing is signer petitions. We're in there are two. We're doing 2 for 1, as you know, Todd and Heidi. So um, yeah, please just please get a hold of us, and we'll get your signature for the audience in Ward 5.
Perfect. And what about those individuals outside of Ward 5 in Broomfield or even outside of Broomfield? What can they do to support your efforts?
Okay, they can spread the word. Of course, I send money, take that, print more flyers. Pay people. We can pay people to walk and get signatures. We have a few people we're paying to go get signatures door to door, and I guess that's pretty much it. But that's good. And if you have friends in Ward 5, tell them about this. And if you don't know, even if it's a friend in Broomfield, just tell them they might know. If they're not in Ward 5, they might know somebody in Ward 5.
Great, Ben. Anything else to share with the audience?
No, that was the main thing. Please sign if you're in Ward 5. We cannot have enough signatures. I'd rather turn in 2,000 than 1,300.
Definitely. Definitely. You always need more in case some of those are invalid or
Yeah,
illegible.
yeah. I've been checking people on the Secretary of State website to make sure the registration's correct, and so they'll print in the part where they print their name, and have it the same way. Some people just have their middle initial. Some people have their full middle name, and so if I'm taking your signature, don't be offended if I look you up. Let's want to do it right the first time.
Definitely, Ben. Well, perfect, sir. Well, I thank you
All
very
right.
much for your time. Thank you for your efforts. I wish you luck. It's great to see citizens standing up and
Thank
speaking
you.
out, holding these authoritarian politicians accountable and trying to speak up for the community, really, and push back against this ever-growing state that's trying to control every aspect of our lives. So thank you very much.
You got it. Well, thanks for having me, Brandon. And I'm not a movie star, obviously, but I'm trying, and I got up here and trying to spread the word. So,
No,
all
I
right.
appreciate it, Ben. All right, sir. Well, thank you very much and take care.
All right. You too. Bye.